All right, let's talk about the Zantac lawsuits. We're going to cut through all the noise and give you a really clear, straightforward guide for 2025. This is all about getting you the essential info you need to actually move forward. So, have you been trying to keep up with the headlines on Zantac? It's a lot, right? You see one thing one day, something totally different the next. It feels like a total whirlwind of court rulings and appeals. And if you're feeling lost or overwhelmed by it all, trust me, that's completely normal. But here's the thing, you are definitely not alone in this. We're gonna cut through all that noise together. I want you to think of this guide as like a desk lamp in a really dark room. We're not trying to light up the whole universe of litigation, okay? We're just trying to show you the path right in front of your feet. So let's get started. Okay, section 1. We're gonna start with this single most important question. Are you even eligible? And look, we're gonna break this down into a super simple 3-point check that you can do yourself literally in just a few minutes. So here they are, the 3 big pillars. Number 1, you have to have the right diagnosis. Number 2, you need the right drug history. And number 3, probably the most important, you need the right proof, the actual documents. If you can nail these 3 things, you are on really solid ground. Okay, let's stick into that first point, the diagnosis. And this is where it gets really specific. We're talking about 5 main cancer groups. You see them here. Bladder, esophagus, stomach, liver, pancreas. But it's not just the name of the cancer. You need the specific ICD-10 code. You see them there, like C67 for bladder, C15 for esophagus. The key takeaway here, this is not a memory game. You have to find this exact code on a pathology report or a note from your oncologist. That's the first hurdle. All right, next up is the drug itself. And listen, this is a huge tripwire for a lot of people, so pay close attention. The lawsuits are all about ranitidine. That was the original active ingredient in Zantac. The new stuff you see on the shelves, Zantac 360, that's famotidine. It's a totally different drug, and it does not count for these claims. So, super simple. Ranitidine gets the green check, famotidine gets the big red X. And look at this. This just shows you the power of what we're talking about. A reader in Ohio, they actually timed this. They did this check on their lunch break, 3 minutes and 40 seconds. That's all it took to get enough clarity to decide, okay, I'm going to start my binder tonight. You know what that beats? 6 months of anxious late-night doom scrolling. It's about action over anxiety. All right, section 2. So, you've done the quick self-check. Now what? The next step is all about gathering your proof. This is where we take what you know and turn it into something you can show, verifiable documents. And this is the mantra for this whole section. Say it with me. Proof beats memory. Your memory of taking the drug is, of course, important, but what really truly matters is what you can document. So our goal here is simple. We're going to find that paper trail. So where do you even look for this proof? Well, the good news is, it's not as hard as you might think. It's usually hiding in just a few places. We're talking about the big retail pharmacies you know, like CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, or your pharmacy benefit manager. That's the PBM, the company that manages the prescription drug part of your health insurance. You've probably heard of them, Express Scripts, Caremark, names like that. And getting your hands on this info is often way easier than people imagine. Seriously, look at this template for CVS. You can literally just copy and paste this into an email. It's just a simple, polite request. Hey, can you please send me a PDF of my prescription history for ranitidine? That's it. You don't need any fancy legal jargon. And here's another one, just to show you it's the same idea for a PBM like Express Scripts. Again, it's a super straightforward request for your claims history. A lot of the time, all it takes is sending a quick email like this, or maybe filling out a simple form on their website. It's a 5-minute task. So let's just boil this whole section down to one clear mission. Your goal is to get 2 clean PDFs. That's it. One from your PBM and one from your main retail pharmacy. If you get those 2 documents, you've won this section. Okay, now for section 3. Let's finally tackle those crazy headlines you've been seeing. We're going to talk about the court landscape, but I promise we'll do it in plain English. This is just so you can understand the bigger picture without getting totally lost in the legal weeds. So here's the whirlwind tour. Back in 2020, the FDA pulled ranitidine from the market. Then in 2022, there was that huge federal case, the MDL, and it got dismissed. That was a big headline. But then, fast forward to 2024, and suddenly we see major settlements happening in state courts. And now, in 2025, we've got key rulings in Delaware, and federal appeals are still in the works. The point is, this whole thing is constantly changing. And that brings us to what might be the single most important point of this entire guide. All these appeals and rulings, they don't gather your documents for you. You do. See, watching the news is passive. You're just waiting. But gathering your proof, that is an active step. It's the one piece of this entire puzzle that you have 100% control over. This little story just drives that point home. A contractor asked, "So, do we just wait for the appeal?" And the response was, "Well, do you have your PDFs yet?" 12 minutes later, he had both of them. And you know what else he had? Forward motion. He wasn't stuck waiting anymore. He chose to make progress instead of being paralyzed by the news. Okay, we're on the home stretch, section 4. We're going to take everything you've gathered and put it all together into one powerful, organized, actionable package. It's time to build your action binder. Look, being organized is the key to feeling like you're in control of this. So here's a super simple folder structure you can make on your computer, like right now. Just create one main folder, Zantac Binder 2025, and then inside it, make these subfolders. One for your diagnosis code, one for your PBM records, one for the retail pharmacy records, and one for a timeline. Boom, everything is clean and ready. And here's a pro tip to make this even better. Create a simple one-page summary sheet to stick right at the top of everything. All it needs are the absolute key facts. Your ICD-10 code, the date of your very first ranitidine fill, the date of your last one, what state you're in, and the date you first reached out to a law firm. This one little page makes your entire situation understandable in about 10 seconds. So what are your next steps right now, today? Let's boil this whole thing down. 1. Create that binder folder on your computer. 2. Save your 2 clean proofs in there. 3. Go through them and find your first and last fill dates and write them down. And 4. Use a state statute of limitations wizard online to get a rough idea of your deadline. You can literally do all 4 of these things this afternoon. I want to leave you with this one last story. It's about a widower, and he was sitting in his truck in a pharmacy parking lot. He almost just drove home, almost gave up. But he didn't. He got out, he walked inside, and 9 minutes later, he walked out with the pharmacy ledger. He had the dates. Now, that piece of paper didn't guarantee him anything, right? It didn't promise a specific outcome. But what it did was give him a path forward. It was a small act of courage. And you know, sometimes the biggest act of courage is just pressing print.